In the last episode, I said I was going to tell the truth and that it would cost me dearly. I still had no idea how much, but I was about to find out. This is the hardest episode to record in this entire series. Because what I'm about to tell you here isn't about ideas or beliefs or philosophical questions. It's about real people, real love, real losses that still hurt when I think about them. So stay here with me, because this episode is going to be heavy. And you need to have seen everything that came before to understand the weight of what comes now. I always heard people say that the truth sets you free. And it does. But nobody tells you that before it frees you, the truth destroys. It tears through everything built on lies, half truths, convenient silence, and calculated smiles. And it spares nothing. It isn't cruel out of malice, it's simply honest. And honesty, when it arrives after being absent for too long, has the same effect as light entering a room that's been closed for years. You finally see everything, including the things you wish you couldn't. The first conversation was with someone in my family. I didn't plan it. I didn't prepare a speech. I didn't choose the perfect moment because there is no perfect moment for this kind of thing. It happened naturally, or maybe inevitably. The conversation started about something completely unrelated, and then suddenly, there it was. The subject, the opening, that suspended second when you realize you can either keep pretending or finally tell the truth. And for the first time, I chose the truth out loud with another person in the room. I'm not going to describe the details of that conversation because it wasn't only mine, but I can tell you how I felt. For the first few seconds after I said it, I felt the greatest relief of my life. It felt like dropping a weight I had carried for so long that I had forgotten what it felt like not to carry it. That relief lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then came everything else. It wasn't an explosion. There was no screaming, no doors slamming, no dramatic movie scene. It was worse than that. It was silence. A long, heavy silence, filled with unspoken things I could almost physically feel in the air. And then came the words. Words spoken carefully, with genuine concern, with real love. But words spoken with love can still hurt, especially when they reveal what someone truly thinks of you, now that they know the truth. In that moment, I realized something no late night research had prepared me to feel. Knowing intellectually that you might lose people you love is completely different from feeling it happen right in front of you. In real time, watching someone look at you differently, hearing that subtle but unmistakable change in their voice, feeling that distance beginning to settle between you, even while both of you are still sitting in the same room. I had rehearsed that conversation in my head for months, and still nothing prepared me for that moment. Nothing. In the days that followed, things started changing, slowly, but with a consistency I couldn't ignore. Messages that used to come regularly started becoming rare. Invitations that had always been automatic stopped arriving. Conversations that once felt natural and effortless suddenly carried that artificial feeling of people trying to connect through something that now existed between them. An invisible wall, built not from anger, not from cruelty, but from incomprehension. From worlds that once completely overlapped and had now separated in a way neither side really knew how to cross anymore. There was one specific day, an event, a celebration, the kind of thing I had always been part of, always included in, always sitting in the front row for. I wasn't invited. There was no announcement, no confrontation, no conversation about it. The invitation that used to come automatically simply never arrived. And I found out it happened by accident. Someone mentioned it casually without realizing I hadn't been included. And I did what I had learned to do very well throughout my life. I said nothing. I held it inside. I waited until I got home. And only then did I allow myself to feel it. If you're feeling the weight of what I'm describing right now, leave a like and tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced being silently excluded for being truthful? I want to hear your story. That pain has a very specific name. It's not the pain of losing someone who died. It's not the pain of a relationship ending in conflict. It's the pain of losing people who are still alive. People you still see occasionally. People who still treat you politely. People who still ask how you're doing with a smile that arrives 1 second too late. It's the pain of silent distance, gentle exclusion, love that still exists on some level, but has changed shape in a way neither side asked for and neither side knows how to reverse. It's a kind of loss with no farewell ritual, no funeral, no wake, no collective acknowledgement of grief. You simply wake up one day and realize the people who once occupied the center of your life now exist at the edges of it. And those edges keep getting farther away. And you cry over it alone. Because nobody outside truly understands the pain. And nobody inside can still be your confidant anymore. The friendships were even more complicated. Because family bonds survive even under tension. But friendships built inside a shared system, when the system stops being shared, often collapse with it. Not immediately, not all at once, but through that slow and relentless erosion that happens when two people no longer speak the same emotional language, when they no longer share the same rituals, the same calendars, the same references, the same fundamental values that once felt so obvious they never even needed to be spoken aloud. I watched friendships of many years turn into polite acquaintances. I watched people who once knew the deepest parts of my story become respectful strangers. I watched connections I believed would last forever dissolve into a fog of visits growing farther apart, messages becoming shorter, until one day you realize weeks have passed without contact, and neither side felt the need to break the silence. I also lost things that weren't people. I lost belonging, that specific and precious feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself, of having a place in the world that feels naturally yours, of waking up every morning knowing exactly where you fit in the order of things. I lost certainty, that comforting certainty of having answers to frightening questions, of knowing exactly what happens after death, of having a clear moral map telling you what is right and wrong in every possible situation. I lost community, the shared calendar of rituals and celebrations that structured time and gave meaning to life, the collective moments that created shared memories. The feeling of never being completely alone because there was always a group you belonged to. These losses are not small, and I'm not going to pretend they were, because minimizing them would be dishonest. And I had already been dishonest for far too long. There were moments when I wondered if it had been worth it. Moments of loneliness so sharp that I almost convinced myself it would be easier to go back, to pretend again, to rebuild the mask I had worn for so long that it had become comfortable enough for me to forget what my real face even looked like underneath it. Moments when freedom felt too expensive, when truth felt like a luxury I couldn't afford at the price it was demanding from me. Moments when I looked at everything I had lost and genuinely wondered whether what I had found could possibly compensate for all of it. Those moments were real, and there were many of them. And anyone who tells you that the path of authenticity is easy or romantically liberating from beginning to end has never truly walked it. But there were other moments too. Moments of such clean and profound clarity that they washed everything else away. Moments when I looked at myself in the mirror and recognized the person staring back at me. For the first time in a very long time. Maybe for the first time ever. And those moments told me I had done the right thing, even with everything it cost. Especially with everything it cost. Because there's a fundamental difference between being comfortable and being at peace. Comfort is the absence of friction. Peace is the presence of wholeness. And I spent a long time comfortable inside a system that never allowed me to be whole. And now I was uncomfortable in ways I never expected. But I was whole for the first time, completely whole. And that wholeness has no price high enough to pay for it, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. But the story doesn't end here, because after the destruction, after the loss, after everything collapsed, something came that I never expected. Something that wasn't part of my plans. Something that existed in none of the versions of this journey I had imagined. Rebirth. And it arrived in a way so quiet and so powerful that I still get emotional thinking about it. In the next episode, I'm going to tell you what I found after losing everything and why I would never trade it for anything.